Hi guys, welcome back to another Kamikaze Creation video. Hope you all had a really good Christmas. We're between Christmas and New Year and I'm sure there's a few festivities planned, but I've had a great time away. Caught up with David up in Queensland, out near Burpengary, and did the deal on the 1G, the spare 1G. Now it's the first or second generation 1G motor. The engine number on that one is around about cylinder 4, where the engine number on that one there is right down below the starter motor, and that's the difference between the first, second and third gen. I know there are internal differences. I think the third gen's got a lot better crank in it. But anyway, it's a good spare motor and I've got heaps of parts that are going to help me progress on this motor. So I'll get into it and I'll show you some parts I've got and how they're going to help me out. So here's the 1G motor that I've bought off David, and that manifold looks really good, but there's heaps of parts on it that are good for my build and just to have spares. We had trouble getting the flywheel off, so I've scored the flywheel, but everything looks really clean if you look down through the motor. Really nice and clean. If we have a look around this side, and I've taken some of this pipe work off and the thermostat housing and the distributor just so I could load it onto my car. But these are the parts that I was after to finish off the water side of the motor. So I'll be finishing that off this afternoon. And if you come over here, here's a whole heap of other parts. So that fan is something that I really wanted. I'm stoked to have that because of where my intercooler was positioned. They had a set of thermo fans on mine, and I think just the overall space that I had available, I don't think I can run the thermo fan, so I'm really happy to get that fan motor back. And it comes with a full water pump, so I've got a spare water pump which I couldn't buy, and I couldn't buy that thermostat housing either. So down here I've got the full thermostat housing now, so I can go and put that on this afternoon. I also got an oil drain line, the mass airflow sensor there, and this piece was made to fit onto his turbo. And if you have a look on the back of it, it's been chopped out a bit to fit in around the distributor. Now I don't think I will need that because I'm going to convert my distributor to a crank angle sensor. But that might not happen straight away. So you've got the spare clutch over there. The clutch is actually pretty stuffed. Pressure plate may be okay, but lots of good parts to continue with the build on this beast. So I'm going to do a little bit of work on this afternoon. There is a little pinhole in the manifold there. So I'm going to take this all apart and fix up that pinhole. And I think I'm going to make a few gaskets up and get the thermostat housing all hooked up again and get that water pipe running through to the back where I have fitted up that new pipe. So see if I can get all of that sort of stuff done this afternoon. And I also got some packages from overseas. So have a look over here. Oh, there's my bike. I've also got some packages here with gaskets and bits and pieces in them. That's the throttle body that I bought, and we'll have a look at that in a second. And we'll get into it. I forget what I actually got, but we'll have a look in a second. I don't seem to be able to take a trick with these thermostat housings. I just went down the street to see if anyone was open in this time of the year, but obviously they're not. I'm trying to get onto an aluminium welder. But that's my original one that I cracked when I was taking that pipe out. And this is the one that's come off Dave's motor, which looked really good at the start. But as I was taking it apart, the thermostat housing cap, I just noticed that it had been bodged up a little bit, and I'm going to have to get that welded up as well. So I can't fit this part up, which is critical to doing all of the pipe work on the side of that motor. So I'm going to take that manifold off, and I'll show you where the little hole is, and I'll MIG weld that up so it's sealed. And the beauty is I opened up this box and I'd forgotten what I'd bought, but here's my new exhaust manifold gaskets, brand new, out of the factory. Yoo-hoo! Good gear. So I'll weld up that turbo manifold, and then I'm good with gaskets to go in there. I also bought an inlet gasket. Now this is the gasket that mounts on the cylinder head face. They don't make the one to go on the other side of that butterfly valve setup anymore, but I think I'll be able to reuse some of the ones I've got there. Also got a timing belt, which I don't know that I need because mine's pretty good, and they're the little O-rings to assemble that thermostat housing, the two halves together. They're the replacement O-rings, which I was trying to get to do when I cracked that housing. So that's a bit of an issue, but anyway, got those. I also got over here, bought this. This is it's a 65mm throttle body, nice red one. Be interesting to see how it goes. It's pretty generic, but it wasn't expensive either. So got a few bits and pieces to work on, struggling to make progress, but this time of the year is a real battle. So I'm going to take that manifold off, weld up that little hole, and I think I might mount that on there, put the gaskets on and mount it on there, because I can get in under there and do that pipe at a later date. Anyway, that's where I'm up to. It's taken a little bit to get this into a position where I can show it to you, but I think you'll see just at the top of the screen there, that light coming through. That's the little hole in the manifold. It was more obvious before I painted it, but that's what I've got to weld up. A little hole up there. I think it appeared once Dave got this sandblasted for me before he gave it to me, and that's when they identified that that was there. So I'll go out and give that a weld up, tidy up, and then she's ready to fit back on. Got a bit of weld down in there. It ain't pretty, but she's sealed up. That's the main thing. So I'll put a splash of paint on it, and that's ready to go back on. Just going to give these exhaust manifold faces a good clean up. Then I can use those new gaskets and at least sit it on there loosely at this stage. So those faces are a lot cleaner now. Just used a little Stanley knife razor blade, gave them a good scrape down, ready for the new gaskets. So there's the old and the new together. The old one had actually separated. That was what I was scraping off the face. They're a two-part gasket, not too bad on one side, but on the engine side very damaged, and the new one, beautiful. There's those beautiful new gaskets on. I'm pretty stoked to be able to get new gaskets. Alma.com, I think it was, is where I got these from. They couldn't help me out with that thermostat housing. Tried to buy it off two places and neither of them could supply it. So I'm destined to fix one of the two that I've got. And I'm going to hold off here at the moment. I'm going to chase up that welding, get those parts fitted up and get these pipes in down the bottom here, running through my coolant pipes that go to the heater core and return back to the water pump. See if I can get that all fitted up before I bolt that manifold on. I think it's just going to be a lot easier. Another bonus with getting this motor is I've got another throttle body and it's in a lot better condition than mine was, and I've got the original manifold as well. That's why I was reasonably game and cut up the one that I had, because I knew I had this one coming. And if I get a bit of a hold up with that other one, I might end up using this, but I really want to continue with that custom front facing unit. It's just this time of the year and getting work done. So not a huge amount of progress or interesting stuff happening today. A lot of little bits and pieces. That thermostat housing has bummed me out, but just got to get someone to weld it up. There's just little things holding me up from moving forward. The aluminium welding is going to be an issue, especially with that front-facing manifold. I've still got to put it in and get it fly cut to the same radius as the pipe, which is going to allow it to be welded up and allow it to fit a lot better. I'm planning on splitting the pipe down lengthways through it, so I can weld it externally and internally, and then do that porting out in those port areas where the fuel and air run down into the cylinders, and then weld that top part back on, seam welded along it. So that's the plan with that manifold. It might take a bit longer than I was planning to get that done, but again, it's no rush because I don't need it super fast. The car's got to get a fair bit of work done to it. I did have thoughts of getting this motor back together to a point where I could put it back in the car and do a bit of planning on the engine bay and what I can get welded up, what holes I don't need. So in the coming videos, I think I'll start working on that clutch master cylinder and brake master cylinder and pull those out, and I'll do more little bits and pieces on this engine. Anyway guys, thanks for watching.